Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about solving equations by adding or subtracting. So this may be something that you've done before a little bit, but just if it is, quick review is always great. And I'm just going to kind of show you the work that I like to see. If you do it a little bit differently, fantastic, that's great. I just want to be able to see it. At the same time, with this is going to be kind of where we really start to show our work. The past few problems, there really wasn't too much work to be shown. So make sure that you're showing work throughout this entire thing. Except for right now, there really isn't too much work on your warm-up. So I want you to pause right now and see what you get for an answer. So pause, give these a shot. All right, so if you look at this, adding or subtracting, multiplying or dividing, so 24 plus 17, when you add them together, you get 41. 23 minus 19, those are 4 spots away, so 4 is your answer. 12 times 3, and your answer is 36. 6 times negative 7, what do you get? I don't know what you got, but I got negative 42. Make sure positive times a negative is always a negative. Negative 64 divided by 8. Your answer is going to be negative. Why is it negative? Yeah, because you divide a positive by, a negative divided by a positive is a negative. Your answer is negative 8. Last but not least, we have negative 250 plus a negative 85. Are they the same sign? Yes, they are. So our answer stays negative. Then 250 plus 85. When you do that, you get 335. Negative 335. All right? Fantastic. Now let's get down to the nitty-gritty of our equations. All right, so we're going to be learning to solve equations using addition and subtraction. Couple of vocabs here. Very first one is equation. So write down what an equation is. So pause and write. All right, so we have an equation. An equation is a mathematical sentence that uses an equal sign. That's very, very, very important. It uses an equal sign. Before we were talking about things like x plus 7 or x minus 2. Okay? Now what we are doing is we are going to be showing that these two expressions have the same value. So we're getting x plus 7 equals 14 or x minus 2 equals 19. Problems along those lines. It has an equal sign, but also there are two expressions. If you look at the bottom, these are all equations. If you look at 3 plus 8, if I gave you the problem 3 plus 8 alone, your answer is 11. However, that's an expression. The number 11, that is an expression. Once we toss in those equal signs, that's when we have an equation. So that equal signs equal an equation. Equal means equal signs. So make sure it's in there. All right, to solve any equation, you do not need to write this. That contains a variable. You find the value of the variable that makes this equation true. This value is called the solution. So we're going to be asking for the solution of each one, each equation. That's what you're going to be coming up with. So if I give you x plus 1 equals 2, your answer would be x equals 1 because 1 plus 1 is 2. Now that is a solution. X equals 1 is the solution of the equation. Next. All right, so what I want you to do is very first thing is write down those directions, write down the problem. You do not need to write down what's in blue. You can erase that, okay? But I want you to answer this problem. See if you can come up with an answer. So pause and write this down. Try to find the answer. All right, so when you look at this, determine which value of x is a solution of the equation. Okay, the very first thing, you may know this right off the bat, but let's start plugging things in. So what makes this true? So if I plug in 5 plus 8 is equal to 15, is that true? No, it's not. It is not true, okay? So 5 is not going to be a solution. Let's try another one. 7 plus 8 is 15. Is 7 plus 8 15? You betcha, okay? So now we know that 7 plus 8 is 15, so 7, what's the Answer 7, x is equal to 7. If you go back and you tried 23, 23 plus 8, is that equal to 15? No, it is not. It is not equal. Okay, so the only equal answer that we get would be when x is 7. So our answer is x equals 7. 7. Heaven is 7. Ta-na-na. All right, so inverse operations, please write this down, and I will explain in just a moment. So pause and write it down. All right, so if you look at this, inverse operations are two operations that undo each other. Operations that undo each other. So if you look at inverse operations would be something like addition and subtraction, multiplication and division. Why? Because if I give you 3 plus 2, and then which is 5, and then I take that answer and subtract 2, I get to the number that I started with. They basically undo each other. Same thing. If I give you 3 times 2, which is 6, divided by 2, which is back to 3. Again, they undo each other, and I get back to where I started. So watch out for that. You want to make sure that you were using inverse operations of one another to figure out the answer. Okay? All right. So if you look at solving the equation, you're going to use the inverse operations. All right? Let's check it out. Next one, addition property of equality. So please write this down, pause, and I'll explain. All right, so if you look at this, this problem, okay, is going to be, the way we explain it is, if I give you 2 plus 3, or let's say 2 is equal to 2. All right, we have 2 is equal to 2. Now, if I add 3 to both sides, I would get 2 plus 3 is equal to 2 plus 3. Now, is 5 equal to 5? Absolutely. So when you, according to the addition property of equality, by adding the same number to both sides of the equation, both sides of that equal sign, so from the left and the right, it keeps that answer true, as long as you had a true statement to begin with. Okay? On the other side, which is the next slide, the subtraction property of equality. Okay? So pause and write, and I'll explain. All right, so the subtraction property of equality, let's take that same answer of 5. Okay, this one we have 5 is equal to 5. Is that the same? Yeah, 5 is always equal to 5. Now, according to the subtraction property of equality, if I give you 5 on both sides and I subtract 3 on both sides, that says the subtraction property of equality states that the new equation will be true. So the question is 2 equal to 2? You betcha, because 5 minus 3 is the same as 5 minus 3. So when you get to these solving of equations, you're using a few properties that you're going to use definitely later on in geometry. You'll have to explain these, but you use these different properties often, okay? Almost every day now from here on out, all right? So know the addition and subtraction properties of equality. All right, now you're going to solve and you're going to show your work. If you're not quite sure on how to answer this, just wait, and I'm going to show you how to show your work. And this is the key: is you need to show your work. Show your work. It's very, very, very important. All right, so you can pause the video and try this. Make sure you are showing your work. All right, so if I look at this, we've been talking about inverse operations of one another. Now, if you're not sure from before, please just follow along. If you already know it, again, follow along. A little extra work doesn't hurt you. Okay, I promise. So if you do this, inverse operations of one another. So if you look at this, p minus 8 equals 9. The question is, we need to get p all by itself. P needs to be by itself. Why? Because it wants to be lonely. It wants to be alone. It wants to be in its own little box. Enjoy time to alone. P just likes to be alone. Okay? So we want to put it in its comfort zone. We want to get P all by itself, which means we need to get rid of this minus 8 here. Minus 8. Now, How we get rid of that is we're going to make that equal to 0. Equal to 0. So if I look at that, how could I make a negative 8, and yes, that is a negative 8, equal to 0? Well, inverse operation state, I can add an 8 to both sides. What's negative 8 plus 8? 0. Okay? The addition property of equality states that we need to do that thing to the same side. So whatever I do to the left side, I need, not want, I desire to do that same thing to the right side. So 9 plus 8, 17. Our answer is 17. Now, before I said you're going to need to show your work. It's going to be essential. I do not want to see just P equals 17. I don't want to see it. I want to see some work. All of this in red. Show that to me. Okay? I want to see not just that you can memorize facts, but I want you to see if you can do the process. The process is just as important as the answer. So get that process going. Okay? Second one, we have N here. Again, we want to get N all by itself. N is a lot like P where it wants to be by itself. It wants to be sitting alone. It's comfortable alone. This 10 is bothering it. We want to put that 10 away. And this 18, I tell you what, it's lonely. It wants to be put together with another number. N wants to be by itself. The numbers want to be together. So let's do it. All right? So we do that by, how do I get rid of that 10? How do I get rid of that 10? Well, I need to make that equal to 0. 10. And I'm going to subtract 10 on both sides because 10 minus 10 is 0. And my answer is N equals 8. Oh, would you look at that? The numbers are nice because they're together over here. Of course, I just combine them and morph them together a little bit. But the N is all nice because it's all by itself. We want to get N all by itself. Wants to be alone. All right? Next problem. Same idea. These two I want you to make sure that you write, first of all, write solve, writing directions. Don't forget that. Try to come up with the correct answer. So pause the video, come up with the correct answer. All right, here we go. Inverse operations of each other. So what's happening to that 11? It's being subtracted. So inverse operation of subtraction is addition. Addition. So we need to add. So I get y is equal to 22 plus 11, 33. 33. Then on the other side, so answer 33. Then you have 44 is equal to y minus 23. It does not matter where that equal sign is. Notice over here, what's happening to that 23? It's being subtracted. Okay, so if it's being subtracted, inverse operations of one another. How do you get that y all by itself? Well, we got to add this 23. We got to get it out of there. Okay, add 23. By adding, you'd get negative 23 negative 23 plus 23 is a 0, not a positive. You get y, and on the other side, 23 plus 44, you get 67. Excellent. Okay, so I hope this video is very informative for you. Make sure as you're doing these problems that you are showing your work. Show your work. SYW. Get used to it because you're going to need it a lot. Make sure you show your work as you go through this. All right? I hope you enjoyed it. Have a wonderful day. I will see you later. Bye.